And good afternoon. This is a meeting of the Morro Bay Public Facilities Corporation Board of Directors. It is Tuesday, August 13th, 2019. We are at the Veterans Memorial Hall, 209 Surf Street, Morro Bay, California. It's 3 p.m. and I will call the meeting to order, noting that we do have a quorum. With that, I will open it up to the public for any members of the public who'd like to comment, give general public comment on this specific agenda. Feel free to do so now. Looking out at the audience, seeing a limited turnout and hands waving no, I'll close public comment, bring it back, and I will turn it over to Mr. Collins to introduce this item and have us move forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Scott Collins, City Manager and acting as General Manager of the Morro Bay Public Facilities Corporation Board of Directors meeting. The subject for today's discussion is to approve. Is it, you're hearing me okay? Let's see.
Yes,
okay.
I can.
I'll keep going. Approve resolution number 2019-01. Approving bylaws, appointing officers and council, and setting regular scheduled meetings and dates and locations. So the recommendation is to adopt resolution 2019-01. A resolution of the Morro Bay Public Facilities Corporation approving the bylaws, setting regular meetings, appointing officers and council, and approving certain related matters. As council may recall, the city council, or as the board may recall, the council adopted and approved the formation of a public facilities corporation on June 25th, 2019, pursuant to resolution number 56-19. And that was filed with the state, the Articles of Incorporation with the state of California shortly thereafter. The city approved this formation in order to facilitate the financing of the water reclamation facility and potentially other capital improvement projects in the future. Under the Constitution, Article 16, Section 18, the city is generally not allowed to incur debt extending more than 1 year without a vote of the people. Due to that requirement, there's generally little authority in the state law for the city to incur a long-term debt or long-term loan, such as the WIFIA. But one exception to that is the constitutional requirement is when the city pledges a special fund, like the enterprise funds, in this case water and wastewater, to the payment of an obligation. And to the extent it defaults, only the special fund could be reached and not the city's general fund. So the city intends to accomplish the financing of the wharf project through the WIFIA and state revolving fund. Switch it up. Got it? Okay. That funding will provide low interest rate financing for the infrastructure of the wharf project. And we have the city attorney here, special counsel for the corporation, who can provide more background if needed on that. But again, today the discussion is not about the formation of the corporation, but it is to adopt the bylaws and establish the officers and set the schedule for the meetings going into the future. But the corporation has been set up again to facilitate the financing of the wharf on behalf of the city. The corporation has all power permitted by law. Corporation's officers are the mayor, mayor pro tem, city manager, and finance director of the city as president, vice president, executive director, treasurer. City clerk acts as the secretary, and the board of directors is the city council. This corporation is subject to the Brown Act and Public Records Act, and the corporation can procure insurance for its officers and directors and will indemnify them for its acts as permitted by law. So again, the resolution before the board today approves the bylaws, which are attachment B, appoints the city attorney as the initial attorney for the corporation, appoints the city clerk as secretary, city manager as executive director, and the finance director as treasurer. It also sets regular scheduled meetings for the corporation for the same time as council meetings until the end of October 2019 for the purposes of moving through the loan agreement with WIFIA, and then from that point forward, the fourth Tuesday of January for every year. So we're happy to answer any questions you may have. The resolution is provided, as well as the attachment A, which was the Articles of Incorporation, and Article B, which is the bylaws for the corporation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. And with that, Mr. City Attorney, did you have anything you'd like to add at this point before I open it up for council questions, sir?
Excuse me. No, Mayor, I do not.
Okay, great, thank you. I'll bring it back to council and open it up for any questions that any members may have. Looking right? Go ahead.
I just have,
Yes.
I think you already answered the one question I had, which is why we're having regular meetings through October. But when you say at the same time as, will it be a part of the council meeting or before the council meeting, or how are you going to handle that?
There would be two separate agendas, probably 5:30 unless council would want to set a different time. And if we needed more time to go through a substantive matter, we could always set it for 5 o'clock or earlier,
Okay.
subject to the availability of the council and the mayor's, discretion. But that's how it usually works that's how it worked with redevelopment agencies typically in other cities.
Okay, and have we ever done this before? Just out of curiosity, for any other purpose that you are aware of?
I'm not aware of the city setting up a corporation like this in the past, if that is the question.
Yeah, that is. All right.
Okay.
Good, thanks.
Great, any other questions? Yeah,
I have a few.
Councilmember Geller.
It's my understanding this is a requirement of the WIFIA financing, is that true?
It is not the requirement, but it's one method to meet the requirements that there can be a long-term loan that is issued to the city of Morro Bay. And so this is one financing mechanism that WIFIA finds acceptable.
Okay, and then can you explain to me, because I'm sorry I missed the meeting when this was discussed in greater detail, can you explain to me about the vote and the one-year issue and kind of what that's all about?
Sure. So if the city wanted to finance a long-term project like this, one of the options available is to send a vote to the people for a bond, which would be a one-time thing. Another way to do long-term financing is to have Prop 218 approve fees, which already occurred. Now, for the fees to actually be encumbered for a loan to be issued, we have to set up a separate corporation that can take on that debt, meaning that we have a commitment of fees that will be paid for decades now. But to get the upfront capital to build the project, we need to take out a loan. And so that loan is secured through the corporation.
Okay, so the gap financing, or would commonly be called gap financing, is being done through this corporation?
Essentially, we need to commit the fees to the loan that we're securing. To get the loan from WIFIA, they need to have some sort of collateral, and that collateral comes through the corporation. And also, setting up the corporation makes sure that the city has limited liability insofar as any of the debts that are incurred stay with the corporation.
Okay, and then I think you said that this could be used not just for the WRF, but other capital projects as well?
Yes.
Is there an approval process or anything in that?
Yes, absolutely. There's an approval process, but I think the most important matter to keep uppermost in mind is that right now this corporation has no assets, it has no way to generate revenue, it has no ability to incur long-term debt unless something is pledged. And so the intent is to pledge the water fees to it so it can incur this debt for the plant. If in the future there was a new revenue source or a new source of capital, then the corporation could also use that. But right now it doesn't have any other revenue, so it's impossible to secure any other debt unless we have a future financing mechanism.
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask a follow-up question?
Sure, absolutely.
I just wanted to make sure that if I understood what you just explained, and just for the benefit of the public, essentially the 218 vote was a commitment by the ratepayers to pay back the debt. So it was the equivalent of taking it to the voters, but in this case, because it's really not the voters, it's people who pay the water and sewer bills that are the real constituent for this project.
Yes, the debt that's going to be incurred has already been approved through the voters through the Prop 218 process.
Right, thank you.
Great, thank you. Red, any questions? Okay. So I'll just clarify and maybe ask it as a question then. It's my understanding this is really quote-unquote a vehicle that will allow us to assume debt that has already been approved, as Councilmember McPherson said, through the 218 process for our WRF project. In order to obtain the WIFIA and/or SRF financing, there is a requirement legally that we have this in place to do that. And the assets that are pledged against that are the water funds or rates that have already been approved.
Yes, another way of looking at it is that we could wait 25 years and collect the water fees and then have the millions of dollars to build a water plant in 25 years. Instead, we're getting that money up front, and then the water fees are slowly going to pay off the loan.
Got it. Thank you. I have no further questions. If that, I'll entertain them. Oh, yes, questions. Go ahead.
For our future meetings, what kind of business should we expect to conduct at those meetings, and what kind of time frame is involved?
It's anticipated that the next major item will be what will be referred to likely as a purchase sale agreement, or purchase loan agreement, where we're going to be pledging the water fees to the debt, and in exchange, we're going to be offering as security the actual facility and the actual infrastructure that's to be built. So we would need to have at least one meeting to basically establish the contract that sets this all up. Other than that, there is not anticipated to be any regular meetings, and so we wanted to make sure we had meetings set out for the next few months, but then thereafter, we just by law need to have a meeting at least once a year, and that's the January meeting.
Great. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
All right. I move that we adopt resolution number 2019-01, a resolution of the Morro Bay Public Facilities Corporation approving the bylaws, setting regular meetings, appointing officers and council, and approving certain related matters.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion for staff recommendation by Councilmember McPherson, second by Councilmember Davis. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Director McPherson,
Yes.
Vice President Davis,
Yes.
Director Heller,
Yes.
and President Heading.
Yes.
Motion carries 401.
Thank you. With that, being no further business, I will adjourn the Morro Bay Public Facilities Corporation Board of Directors meeting, and we will reconvene at 3:30 for a special study session right here, same place, on our CalPERS opportunities. So, folks, we'll see you in about 15 minutes. Thank you.